Kimberly Verbeke. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. This is our second attempt at this thing. The first time we had some technical difficulties, and so uh, I'm excited for today's conversation because the last one started out really really good, and
I know.
then the internet just didn't want to do its thing and became uncooperative. So um, we're picking up where we left off, but yeah, I'm glad to be doing this with you. You and I have got some history together, and I'm excited to talk about all the things that you've been doing and that you have accomplished. I think the most valuable, probably not the most valuable, one of the most valuable things that people will get from listening or watching to this episode is proof that you do not have to live in a major suburban area that's highly populated. You don't have to have a big team. You don't have to have a big um, marketing budget. You don't have to have a big operation in order to have a thriving, um, profitable, doing over seven figures in revenue private practice. And you're proof and evidence of that. Um, I think you're going to be you're going to offer a lot of things that are going to they're going to shatter some misbeliefs and misconceptions and fake news that exists out there about
Yeah.
private practice. So, if you wouldn't mind, just give like a high level overview of who you are, where you're from, a little bit about the practice itself.
Yeah. So I have a clinic in Boerne, Texas. We're kind of in the hill country between Austin and San Antonio. Um, I've had this business for this is our sixth year. Um, we used to be a town of about 10,000 people, and that doubled uh, between 2020 and 2024. We have over 20,000 in our town now. So we're not like a big city. I would say we have a lot of the right people, right, the right demographic in the area, and that's really the most important piece is having the right people around you. Um, I'm a traditional naturopath. I have a practice with medical doctor that oversees it. I have a PA, um, and then one other full-time person, and an RN that helps us out here and there too. So we're not big. We don't have a bunch of front office staff. Our goal is to be lean and mean and also really help people. Um, we don't want everybody. We want the right people. I think that's a mistake that a lot of practitioners make is you know, they want everybody, and that's really not what you're looking for if you're in the kind of space we're in, right? Functional medicine or whatever you want to call it. We're looking for people that are willing to do the work, and we can be a teammate with them and really help them and really move the needle in terms of changing the trajectory of their health.
Yeah. So I'm going to need your help as we go through this conversation, Kimberly, because I you don't realize how naturally gifted you are at certain areas. And you have some real gifts. Some of them you're aware of, some of them you're not. Um, that I'm going to ask that you try to explain is to your best of your ability, because when you say um when you say like you're not for everybody, you're not trying to be the clinic for everybody. You're not you know that you need patients that are willing to do the work. Um, that's 100% true, and I think that's even something that like most clinic owners would inherently just agree with. Now, where where I think we need to go deeper with it to the best of your ability is that you really don't do marketing. You have an ad that's in a magazine that goes to a zip code that's one of the wealthier zip codes. But again, 20,000, a city of 20,000 people in a, in between a couple of other big cities. It's not even like you're doing marketing to like market the right people. And you just,
No.
but like but something is happening, something is working. You don't do, and just to like pull back the curtain, you're doing over seven figures a year in annual revenue with this little small team of yours in this little small town. 800,000 roughly of that are IV therapy. So you've certainly niched yourself into that. We'll go into that whole piece of it. But this is not by mistake. It's not by luck. It's not by chance. So when you say like y- I guess I'm trying to even think about the right question. Like how, without you even marketing, how are you attracting the right people without like throwing your line in the water and like pulling these right people in? Like what is it that you understand you've done about the reputation, the culture, the way in which your patients are even referring the right kinds of patients to you? Like, what do you know about this whole thing that would be helpful for somebody else to think I could be doing a much better job in this area?
99% of our business is word of mouth referral from people that have already worked with us. We get very small amount that will go, oh, I did a Google search and found you, or they see our ad. And the reason I have the ad, that is really more about branding, people becoming familiar, right, with seeing our brand. It's a Yeah, I feel really fortunate. I have a sales background and I learned some very valuable things working in sales that have helped me as a clinic business owner, right? Um One thing, so a couple things that I would say are really important if you want to grow your IV business is you can't just hope and wish that people come in for IVs. You need to be able to, like I do packages, most of my business is 6-month packages with people. Inside those packages are packages of IVs that will benefit them for the things they have going on. You have to use IVs like medicine. Like if you have an infection, you're not just going to go, oh, I'm going to roll out and take one amoxicillin and hope that does it. It's not how it works. You need a series, right? You need a round of that antibiotic. Most of the IVs we use are the same. We need a series of them to actually get the result that we're looking for, right? So you have to be able to explain that to people so they understand it and get their buy-in. Using IV therapy when people are really not feeling well, it would take years for many of these people to get a probably somewhat similar result, maybe not even as much if they're just doing oral things versus the amount of traction you can get in turning somebody's health around using IV therapy. The other thing that I always remember, we're a cash pay practice and people are choosing to spend their disposable income with us. They don't have to, they're choosing to. I want them to have the best possible experience, right? So from the minute they walk in the door till the minute they leave, we want them to, I'll give you an example. We have a cancer patient we've done a bunch of work with, and she's actually out in California right now at Dr. Devlin's for 3 months doing some hyperthermia and targeted radiation. And she's been checking in with me, and I've been checking in with her. And the other day, she sent me a message, and she's like, things are going great, blah blah blah. Really nice people, and I love it. But she said, I really miss you guys in the IV room. There's so much positive energy, and I've made so many friends there. I really miss it. That's how you want people to feel, right? You want to leave them with that feeling that they want to come back because it's such a positive experience for them. And that goes from, we don't want a million people in our office at once. We want the right amount where we can make people feel truly cared for, where we can give them a 10 experience. And, in your IV room, you need somebody that's good at sticking. If you've got somebody that sucks at starting an IV, good luck getting people to want to keep coming back for that. They're not
Yeah.
gonna. I don't care
Yeah.
how nice your IV person is. If that's not a skill they possess, you need to find somebody with that skill. The less times they're stuck to start an IV, the better their experience is going to be, right? Warm them up with a heating pad, give them some hot tea, make sure they're in a really comfy chair. Um, if it's somebody that you can, which most people can, give them a little nitric oxide if they're a hard stick. Like, do these little things that make it easier, where you have a better chance of hitting that vein the first time, so it's a better experience. I mean, I don't mind getting an IV. I don't mind being stuck. Do I love it? No, but I don't mind it. But there are a lot of people that do mind it a lot. And so just doing little things to make it a better experience for them it's going to make them way more likely to be compliant and to want to come back, and also to tell other people, hey, go see them. It's a great experience.
Yeah, so I mean, clearly there's a lot of attention to detail there. There's a lot of the experience. You and I, we talked a long time ago about the book The Power of Moments, and you've incorporated a lot of that into the practice, and all of those things really help with the word of mouth, ultimately with your net promoter score. That one question of how likely are you to refer a friend or family member to the business. And so all of those things are factored into it. You mentioned that the IV therapy allows for people to achieve health goals, um, in timelines that are unachievable with oral. Why is it that you don't see more clinics really embracing the IV therapy? Would you suspect?
My best guess is just that a lot of practitioners don't really know how to use IV therapy that way. They've never really been trained in, how to stack them, how to look at, how to assess people to know kind of where to start. Like, if you have someone that's really sick, you've got to be super gentle when you start out. Um, it's there's an art to it as as well as a science. Setting the right expectations with people, staying in contact with them. Um, I think that I've gotten IV education so many different places. Like, I've literally paid thousands of dollars to go get trained on one IV therapy, because I couldn't, there doesn't seem to be an easy place to go get educated on quite a few things. And I think certain things deserve their own space. I think, I'm a big believer. Like, anytime somebody talks to me about, like, a practitioner, I'll be like, "Oh, can you come show me how you do ozone, how you guys do ozone there?" And then I'm like, "Look, you should go get ozone certified, because there's a lot more to it. Like, I can tell you when you know how to use it, but go get really deeply educated on it so you understand it well. You understand when you can and can't use it with people." So I think that's challenging for practitioners, is they're just kind of like, I don't really even know where to start. I'll just give Myers. We'll offer Myers, you know.
Myers cocktail, yeah. But
Yeah.
and so I'm excited for us to talk about what you and I are putting together to really answer um, that big gap that's out there for providers that want to be able to offer more IV therapy and the solutions to it, um, but have all the questions around the how and when and where and what and all the things. But before we get into that, so you the sales piece of it. So I mean, clearly something is always worth what somebody is willing to pay for it, right? Like, I mean, if if a price tag, if a price tag of $100,000 for one person might just be an absolute ridiculous waste of money, to somebody else, it it, it's a steal. It's it's a great deal. It's always just worth what somebody is willing to pay for it. And if there's somebody willing to pay X amount of dollars, whatever that thing is, that product or service is, it's worth that amount of money. Now, when you have a business and it's not a hobby, of course, you have to be able to replicate that over and over again, right? And you have to
Mhm.
be able to speak intelligently to it and be able to deliver on whatever the promises are. So you have a background in sales, which is very helpful in some of the ways in which the conversation happens. But ultimately, it's really not in healthcare. It really isn't sales. It's really presenting people the hearing people, understanding what it is that they want, understanding how they got there, understanding what the different mechanisms are that are in play, and then having the skill set to be able to solve those, right? Like, in functional medicine, integrative medicine, that's so much the deal is you hear root cause, root cause, root cause, root cause. And for those that truly have the skill set to get down to the root cause, and
Mhm.
they either have the skill set and or the team to help then give and deliver the root solution, it's not sales. It is like, this is what it's going to cost in order to go from where you're at to where you want, right? And it's like, you're basically just inviting them to be part of the process. At least that's the way I look at it. Because when it comes to, you say expendable income, and for some it certainly is. Like, if they're coming in
Mhm.
for IV therapy because they had a rough night last night. Bachelor party, bachelorette party, like they just need the room
Yeah.
to stop spinning and to be able to keep down some food because they got to go to work the next day, kind of deal. Like, that's a want more than a need, and they did that to
Sure.
themselves. But then you have like this cancer patient you're talking about, which is like, it's life or death,
Mhm.
um, and it becomes a whole lot more important that they find solutions, that they work with somebody who understands the root cause and what needs to be done. And um and so, with that being said, like, how are you developing your pricing? What do you, when it comes to the different packages, like, how have you landed on what you're charging for each one? And then um how do you have those conversations with people where it is multiple thousands, tens of thousands of dollars?
It's I think it starts with you believing that it's worth it.
Yeah.
I'll hear someone go, "Oh, like I couldn't charge that. My people wouldn't pay it." And I'm like, "You're right, they wouldn't, because you don't
Yeah.
think they would." So
Yeah.
your attitude's going to shine through on what it's worth and what you think they're willing to pay. Um, I've had this conversation with a lot of people. I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. Your patients probably aren't going to pay that." Okay, move on, right? Why are you making decisions about what they can and can't afford?
Hmm.
You have no idea. I always joke and say, if it's a lady, like probably between 60 and 70, and she rolls in and she's probably not real showy. Um, she's the person that's like, oh, it's going to be 35,000 for 6 months. Can I write you a check?
Hmm.
That those are my people.
Hmm.
The chicks my age that roll in, carrying their Chanel bags and in their brand new Range Rover, they're the ones that literally are like, "Oh, that's way too expensive." And I'm like, "Okay.
Wow.
Your
Yeah.
your purse is almost $20,000. So I get where your priorities are, and that's fine, but those people aren't for me."
Yeah.
Um the people that value their health and understand that you're investing in your future self. Um, when you are sick and you have no quality of life, who cares how much money you have? Literally. I mean, I think most of us have not felt well at some point in our life if we're over a certain age, and quality of life goes to hell in a handbasket. Like, if you don't feel good, nothing else really matters. You can't do things that you enjoy, and yeah, I mean, it's just it's what someone prioritizes or what someone values. So I don't assume what people can and can't afford. I have prices set at what I feel like is a good value for what they're getting. We're also, our packages aren't cheap. And let's say we have someone come in and they're coming in for, a specific thing, but they're like, "Ooh, I think I might be coming down with something. My husband hasn't been feeling good." And we will change it up and give them a drip that we think is going to be more beneficial. And I am not going to charge them for that. I'm going to take care of them. They're in a package. Those are things you can do again that just like it creates value. People appreciate it. And it's, yes, we charge a premium price, but we also deliver a premium service to the people that we work with. We're very, very accessible to them. Um, there's just a whole lot of things that I hear regularly from the patients that come to see us, what makes it worthwhile to them. And it's collective. It's not one thing, it's multiple things. Yeah, it's it, money is a piece of it, but if it's something people value, they'll find the money.
Yeah, for sure. It makes me, as you're talking, I'm thinking, mindset is such a big component of all kinds of different things in our world, right? And I'm wondering, have you ever gone down the path of either doing a study yourself or like been exposed to a study where people's mindset impacts their outcomes? So because just to kind of frame this up, you're talking about the Chanel purse and the Range Rover, and it's like just oh, that's expensive, but it's because their priorities are mixed up. And then you have somebody else that comes in and they're like, where do I write the check? Um, and mentally they're in a different place. And now maybe it's because their relationship with money is different. Maybe it's because of their relationship with health is different. Maybe it's because the circumstance, the health circumstance itself is making making it be different. But in the cases where there is like a psychological difference of why somebody's going down this path, are there studies you're aware of to show what the outcomes are, how they change from one population to another? I can't imagine that has necessarily been studied, but
I bet there are. If there are, I mean, I've never individually looked something like that up, but it's funny you say that because I put up a post yesterday. I've been rereading Meditations. I don't know if you ever have listened or read anything by Ryan Holiday
oh,
on
sure,
the
yeah,
Stoics,
yeah,
and I was
yeah. The Daily Stoic,
re-listening.
I've got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
love that stuff. Anyway, I was kind of re-listening to Meditations, and there's a line in there from Marcus Aurelius where he says, "The soul is dyed by the color of one's thoughts." And I was like, "Oh, that's a really beautiful way of saying you become what you think." Because you do. I mean, I see it all the time with people. People that sometimes shouldn't get better, right? According to their medical doctor, do. And people that there is no known reason why they shouldn't get well, but they take on the identity of I'm sick. I'm not well. And you can't make any progress with them.
Yeah,
And so much of that is mindset, right? That's a big piece. And that goes back to not wanting every patient.
yeah,
Are you going to get some of those? Sure. But like, try really hard to, in the initial consult with people, make sure they have the right mindset and that they're willing to um, let go of old beliefs or like one of my favorite things to chat with people about is their diet because people think their diet is a freaking religion. It's insane. Whether it serves them or not, they're like, I ain't giving it up. And I'm like, all right, cool. But is it serving you? You don't feel good, right? One time I had a lady call for like a 15-minute discovery call that I do where people can ask kind of questions and decide if they want to book in for an appointment. And she was telling she wasn't healing. She had some things she just couldn't seem to heal from. And I said, "Can you tell me a little bit about how you eat?" And she's like, "Oh, I've been vegan for years. It's very, I do it because I care about animals." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I can really appreciate that. I'm a huge animal lover." I said,
Iron
"Would
deficient.
you nutrient deficient,
Dude.
right? You can't heal without enough amino acids." And I'm like, "Would you be willing to reconsider some things in your diet if it meant it could help improve your health?" And she's like, "I don't think so. Why?" And I said, "Well, likely without knowing anything else about you or without us having any kind of, labs or anything to look at, I'm going to guess you're likely deficient, pretty deficient in amino acids. And it's going to be really hard for you to heal in the same environment that made you sick." And she was like, "Oh, no, I don't think you're a good fit for me." And I was like, "Okay, have a wonderful day." I don't want that person because they're not going to get better and then they're going to be upset at me. But meanwhile, they have it set up in their head that they're like, they're super self-righteous over their diet. And it's like, nobody cares. You're sick. What, So
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, people have to be willing to make the change, right? In that particular case, so let's just say somebody is vegan. Is it is does it come down to the speed in which they could feel better if they went the IV route, um, versus, or is it just like there's not a whole lot that can be done to make somebody well if they're like highly amino acid deficient due to years of veganism?
I started out working in a nursing home, right? And so I saw what happened to people as they became more and more deficient in, as they lost muscle mass and I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just really challenging for you to get enough of what you need if you're not willing to have some non-vegan sources of protein,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
You can use an amino acid supplement, but you still, the problem is red meat, ounce for ounce, is the most nutrient dense thing you can eat. Like, fight me on it, because I don't know where else you're going to get something with that much nutrients. So if you're struggling with nutrients, in my opinion, the best place to get things are from the food you eat. And then everything else is a cherry on top of that, right? If you're starting out in this massive deficit, like, how do you make that up every day?
Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, right. I mean, at the end of the day, what you do need is you need patients that are going to cooperate. They're going to trust the process. They're going to trust you as the expert, and then be willing to, make some modifications. Um, okay. So then what are you doing? So in conjunction with the IV therapy, what other like supplemental packages or elements are you including that's also really helping with the success of your clinic?
So, again, I think people are missing out on relationships and feeling heard, like someone listens to them. It's a huge complaint I hear. "Oh, I go to my doctor, I see him for 5 minutes, and he doesn't even listen to what I say." Well, honestly, he probably doesn't have the time to listen. Um, my initial consult with people is an hour and a half. So I have enough time to really dig deep into their health history and find out what they're eating. And, oh, by the way, I've got a really challenging relationship with my husband, or my sun or whatever that looks like, right? All those things impact people's health and their ability to heal. Um, y- there's so much more to it than just, like a symptom and a disease process. It's emotional components. It's yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot deeper than just being broke down to a science of you have this symptom and you need this medication.
Yeah.
Um, so we really get to know the people we work with. We use supplements. We use off-label medications. We use medications if people need them. Um, the goal is always to be as holistic as possible. Sometimes people need medicine, and that's okay. It's really finding the best route for that person and what they're capable of handling or doing. Um, age is a factor too, right? We don't heal as quickly as we get older. We slow down metabolically. So you got to be able to look at all the factors and go, um, like from my perspective, I look at quality of life and then quantity of life. Because after working in a nursing home, I always say I don't want anybody to change my diapers or feed me. I
Yeah.
want to be
Yeah.
able to do those things for myself.
Yeah.
So, um, if quality of life is poor, does any of the rest of it matter? I don't know. You
I
have
mean,
you have to figure
yeah.
that out.
I do. I think that's yeah, individually, but I think most people would probably agree that being a vegetable, or not being able to bathe, or um, that's not ideal, right? And like not a great way um of living. So what do you? So you and I, we've got this thing going on, the Avita IV Institute, right? And it's really answering the call that you've been getting for years now, which is, questions by other providers around like, how do I do this? And, how are you doing it? And you haven't really had a really good singular place to send people to, because your expertise has come from years of investing in your continuing education and this program and that program and all these different certifications, and traveling here, there, and everywhere. And so we're putting together this program. It's a virtual and in person program, which I'm really excited to be partnered up with you on bringing forward. How does somebody know if they're a good fit to really introduce um, this in their practice? Because I'm well, even frame this. Like everything you've said is so it's like it's just common sense stuff, right? Like, make sure the experience is there. Be relational. Um, pay attention to the details. If you're going to stick somebody with the needle, be good at it or have somebody that's good at it. Don't inject cold solutions into somebody. Like use a heating pad or warm it up to a certain degree. Like none of it you've said is mind blowing, but at the same
Mm.
time, I know at a lot of clinics that have gone down the path of offering IV therapies, and they really haven't thrived. And so, you know, as we're putting this whole thing together, as people are listening to this, they're like, man, I would love to have a small operation that's doing over $1 million a year. And, they're crunching the numbers on profitability. They're like, sign me up for it. How do, how do you know if they're the right fit to welcome into the program, and if they're going to ultimately thrive on the other side the way that you have?
I mean, I guess I would say from my perspective, it's something I'm pretty passionate about because I understand, like I said, how much it can move the needle for people. I'll give you an example. We had a lady come see us that had been working with a very well known mold doctor. And has been working with her for like 12 years and just hasn't seen the results she wanted. And a friend of hers had come to see us and got really, really great results, very compliant, great results. And she's like, my friend's raving about how she hasn't felt this good in years and she's in her mid 50s. Like, what the heck are you guys doing? And I said, well, probably the biggest thing we're doing different is we're using IV therapy too. And it can just move the needle in such a meaningful way for people. And I see it as kind of the magic, right? So many people have disrupted guts, either the terrain's really messed up, a lot of bad bacteria or pathogens in the gut, a lot of gut permeability. And so you're trying to help them get well with oral supplements that they're getting, if we're lucky, 5 or 10% of what's in it, and the rest is going in the toilet. And so the amount of time, money, effort, energy that they have to put into it, they're like, "Oh my god," right? They're just not seeing the results.
Yeah.
If you combine the 2, it's you can just get really big results with people. And understanding, the thing that I see a lot. I was talking with one of my friends who has a couple of practices, um, and we were talking about the fact that everybody wants a one-size-fits-all protocol. And if you do that, it's just like, oh, you have a symptom, here's a medication. You have to be able to make things very individual for the person in front of you. Um, Not everything works for everyone, right? So I'll give you an example. We started using ozonated glycerin intravenously a couple years ago, and I don't know if you guys use it in your clinic, but it's very interesting. If you have people with Lyme in particular, the ozonated glycerin, it has a half-life of about 28 days, so really long half-life, right? The way it binds to the glycerin. It's excellent at breaking down biofilms. It's also excellent at breaking down biofilms. So if people have these bugs or things that are, kind of hiding in the body, and you start busting up these biofilms, they feel wicked. I mean, like down and out, like they have the flu, sometimes for 3 days.
Okay.
So you have to be willing to go super low and slow, see how people tolerate things. Um, we've had people that I would never have expected to respond like that. Like young guy, like early 40s, pretty fit, healthy guy, but some gut stuff going on. And I mean, we would give it to him, and he's like, I felt like I had the flu for 2 full days. My joints ached, my whole body ached, I was shivering. So, you have to be willing to take the time to look at each person very individually, um, assess what that person can handle, how strong or how weak they are. It's not just we use this for this, because while something might be a great thing to use for a certain problem, it might just be too much for the person in front of you. And so you have to take a lower, slower approach. Um, those are things, you have to be willing to constantly be learning, ask lots of questions, pay close attention. Um, Having the right people in your IV room super valuable, because they're going to help you gather that information and make sure you're well aware of what's going on, even if you're not always in that room.
Do you mean like your team?
Hmm.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
who do you have in there with you while you're doing this? Like, what does that team look like?
Um, just, a nurse or two that's the right fit, that understands how to ask the right questions and what to look for, somebody that's very on top of things, um, somebody that's not easily distracted. No, that's not always easy, but you really need a good multitasker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are clinics doing wrong when they try to go down this path, and they're not successful?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things from my perspective is you have to love learning because you're
Mm.
constantly going to be learning when you're giving people IVs. You have to be passionate about what you do, and you have to have a real love for continuing to learn because things change. Like the information, as we learn more and more, you sometimes you go, oh, that's not the best way to do it. This is better. Um, and that's okay. That's right. I mean, that's part of science is evolving, and we learn new things, and that's how you can better take care of people. Um, being, you know, being successful at this is I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is they just think, "Oh, like, okay, people know we have IVs, they're just gonna sell themselves." No, they're not. They're not
And
because
on one-off, you know, like, just without packages too.
yeah, I mean, most people would walk into our office and be like, "I've never heard of lipoic acid mineral complex. Why would I
Right.
want that intravenously? What is it?" Right? I mean, I there's so many things we can use intravenously that people don't even know what they are, much less what they do. So we have to educate people and we have to tell them why it's a great fit for what they have going on and how it's going to help them. Um, you've got to make that relatable to people. Um, you have to be able to talk to them in a way that they can understand. Um, and they feel like a person, not a not a science project.
Yeah. Yeah, which that just comes down to being really knowledgeable, right? Because the people that they, they overcomplicate something, it's that's where people's, like, red flags go up. It's like, this should be an easier, and like, I should be able to ask a question and have it be an easier response, and if
Mhm,
it's not, then they do feel like it's like, this is science project-y type of deal.
mhm.
So weight
Or
loss is a
overwhelmed.
or overwhelmed, yeah, and confused people, they don't make decisions, right? They just like, "Hey, send me information, let me think about it, let me talk to my spouse," you get the objections, because
Yeah.
confused buyers don't buy. Um, for, like, weight loss, GLPs are a
Mhm,
big thing right now.
mhm.
Um, Peptides, there's a lot of changes happening with peptide. So,
Yeah.
how does the how does this play well with, or is it disruptive to, like, when it comes to the IV therapy, um, particularly like GLPs, peptides, HRT, how is it do they play well together, or
Yeah.
are they like competitors of some sort?
No, they're synergistic, right? So, like, people will come to me with problems. I'll give you an example. Uh, lady, mid-50s, menopausal, terrible sleep habits, goes to bed at, like, between 1 and 2 every morning, and she asked me she was asking me about Cimarelin and some other peptides, and I was like, "You're wasting your money. Your foundation's broken. Fix the foundation and these things will be the cherry on top, but if you don't get your sleep right, none of this stuff is gonna move the needle for you." That's my opinion, right? People are looking for an easy button and they're like, "Oh, it's healthy." But it's still an easy button. You have to get the foundation right. Like, be an adult, set a bedtime for yourself and go to bed. Like, your sleep is so screwed up. Everything feels bad to you because you're not resting, you're not repairing, you're not. So, getting people to understand. a lot of these things are beautiful and work wonderfully, but you have to have a good foundation. You have to have healthy sleep patterns. You have to eat nutrient dense foods. You have to exercise. You have to get sunlight and you need to drink good clean water. I feel like those are just non-negotiable basics for getting your health in line. And then you can do other things that will just really, like, make you go, "Holy crap, I feel amazing," right?
Yeah. So where do you start? Because so much of this is like changing behaviors and habits, and it takes a while for things
Mhm,
to happen. And I
mhm,
mean, I think, I mean, I've seen a number of different cases where people's sleep is messed up. And there's one of my favorite nurse practitioners. Her name is Megan, and she's hilarious. Um, eh, and she's big on sleep, and she says, "You
uh-huh,
want to get chubby, don't sleep." Right. And she
yep,
really emphasizes sleep. Um, but at the same time, the practice that she works at is a hormone practice. They do a lot of weight loss and things there. Her goal is always to get people to do the foundational things, the
mhm,
sleep, the eating right, the intermittent fasting, those kinds of more holistic deals. Sometimes people need a jump start, and sometimes
mhm,
it's a
yeah,
psychological jump start because they feel so they don't like what they see in the mirror.
mhm,
They don't like the version of themselves that they become, and so they're started on GLP. For them, it makes sense. For them, they start getting the benefits of the anti-inflammatory components of it. They start shedding some pounds, and then it like incrementally they work on changing of habits, like, stop going through the drive-throughs, start setting your alarm clock. And so for you, being a very, like, heavily emphasis on the IB therapy stuff, what is like, what's some of your starting points to get people into it? And let's say they have a variety of goals, but there is a variety of different areas which they need to address. So, like,
mhm.
what's the launch point?
I, I believe that one of the things we see in so many people is really dysregulated nervous systems, right? Which is part of most people's sleep issues. I think that's a great starting point, but you have to be partners in health. And so I'm not against things like GLPs. I think they're amazing when they're used properly, but also getting people to understand if you think this is just going to be the thing and you don't have to do anything else, A, you'll be on it for the rest of your life. B, eventually you'll end up deficit in muscle, and you're never going to get where you really want to go because anything worth having requires some work, in my opinion. Um, so this goes back to working with the right people, right? It's really common to see postmenopausal women with really drained adrenals and they don't feel good. Many of them have a high viral load since COVID, just multiple factors, and they're down for the count, just don't feel good. Um, you're not going to ask that person to go start working out hard. They need to get right. That you need to get their mitochondria functioning better so they can work out. Um, so again, it's not at all one size fits all. But if you got somebody that's like, people always end up telling you who they are, whether
Mhm.
they mean to or not. Um, oh gosh, I don't have time to work out. And then somewhere along the way, they will end up telling you, how many episodes of a show they watch at night, and you're like,
Yeah, the binge watching, yeah. Yeah,
"You
so
don't
that's where you're
have
spending
time
your
to work
time.
out."
Mhm,
Right,
mhm.
and I'm like, yeah, I've been super lucky my whole life I've had time to work out.
Yeah.
Lucky me."
Somehow you found an extra couple of hours that nobody else has.
Yep, it's magic, man.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, I just think, like, you ask the right questions and you meet people where they are, but it's like, you need to do something. So, like, okay, you don't feel good and you are exhausted. Let's just do a 10-minute walk every day. Can you commit to that? Can you commit to in the first 2 hours of morning sunlight walking for 10 minutes? Perfect. That's not crazy. They're getting sunlight, which is cueing all these wonderful things with their hormones, and they're getting a little movement, their lymphatic system's moving, they're getting detoxification. Their mood's going to be enhanced. It's just a whole bunch of stuff, right? So it's this little win, like you were talking about, that helps move them in the right direction. And so um, it's you're not asking everybody to do the same thing. I mean, there are certainly people that can and should be going and hitting heavy weights, and they're not. Um, but that's not everybody,
Yeah.
right? You got to get people to a
Yeah.
point where they can do that.
Yeah. What you're describing is a partnership. You're really just
Yeah.
describing the partnership that a patient has to have with their provider,
Mhm.
the honesty that they need to have with themselves, with the provider, the joint work, trust, communication, it's no surprise that the ones that are really willing to partner up and do the thing, they're going to find the most amount of success when they do their part. So um yeah, I'm really looking forward to this um IV Institute, the Beta IV Institute component of things, because I've seen it. I've had IV therapy myself, but it's not as accessible as I would like it to be, as you would like it to be, which is the entire point of this whole thing. And there's no shortage of providers out there who would love to be able to help make people healthier, faster,
Yeah. Yeah.
more successfully, and make way more money in the process of doing it. So
Mhm.
it's a super fun project that we're putting together.
It
Um,
is. I'm super stoked about it.
yeah, yeah. Now we're early on, as the time we're recording this. Like it's a juggernaut of a project because of the sheer amount of information that you need to be able to teach in order to be able to get somebody there. But buckle up for those that really want to like change people's lives and incorporate a really successful IV therapy component to their practice. I mean, you've looked no further. You have found the right place, and but it's going to be a partnership, just like the patient. Their partnerships can be a partnership. So we're excited to roll that out. Probably
Yeah.
late 2026. More to come on that. We can point people to your website, the Avita website, that will at some point just check back, folks. If you haven't seen it, if it's not there, for there to be a link that goes to this page that will tell people more. What share your website?
It's Avita, Avita dash wellness.com.
Yeah, and there will be like an IV Institute something. We'll have a separate landing page and things there, but we got some work to do before we're ready to put it forward facing. Any closing thoughts, Kimberly? If there's providers out there, like they're totally bought into the IV therapy thing. What are like some final parting words, wisdom, anything you might share?
I mean, I think it's just super fun because you can see, like my medical director, he's emergency medicine. So he sees a lot of chronic disease, right? And when he's in the office, he's like, "This is amazing. These people are getting better. This is so cool." And you're like, yeah, isn't
And
that
who
what
and
what
who's
you
this
do?"
person? What's his
My
credit? What
medical director. He's
medical
board
director?
certified emergency medicine, right? So he works in an ER, and he's told me many times. He's like, you see the same person though 3 months ago they were in because they have diabetes and they're living on soda and potato chips, and they're, 3 drugs aren't cutting it anymore, so you've gotta add something else, and you gotta up the doses, and now they've got an infection in their foot, and, next time you see 'em, you're probably gonna be sending them for surgery because 'cause they're gonna lose part of a leg, or that's depressing. That's super
And you're saying IV
depressing.
therapy, there's IV therapies that can
Right.
change the course of patients going down that direction. Is that what you're saying?
Okay, let me give you I'll give you a quick story. This is a pretty
Yeah,
cool
I love
story.
stories.
Um, so my oldest brother, who happened to grow up in the same family I did, um,
Okay. Which is unique these days, in, in family households. But yeah,
he he treated we have a young attorney that comes into the office, and she's like, "Oh my God, I've been treating my body like a frat house." So let's just say he treated his body like a frat house for quite a long time. Not a drinker, but just really, really poor food choices.
okay.
Business owner, stress, a lot of responsibility, and was probably undiagnosed diabetic for 15 plus years. Just never would do anything. And so 2 years ago, he stepped on a nail on a job site. And because the neuropathy is so bad in his feet, had no idea this nail was in the bone of his foot, walked around on it all day, got
Jeez.
home, discovered it, and ended up with a pretty gnarly infection in his foot. So he calls me and he's like, "Hey, like I'm really, really worried." Um, And let's back that up. He had been in like an urgent care a couple of times over the past several years with like, I think 400 plus blood sugar. Okay.
Jeez.
So he's like, "I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "Well, if you want to keep your foot, you need to do everything you can do." Right. So working in a nursing home, firsthand experience. It's a toe, it's the foot, it's under, below the knee, it's over the knee, it's the whole like. I mean, I know what that looks like. You don't heal when you have diabetes. Um, so he's like, "Okay, tell me what to do." And I'm like, "Well, did you go see, your doctor?" He's like, "Yeah, and they're sending me to infectious disease." I'm like, "Go." I'm like, "They're probably going to give you a PICC line and you're going to be on antibiotic drugs, broad spectrum antibiotic drugs that are going to annihilate everything bad and good in your body. You need to," he doesn't live near me. I'm like, we need to find somebody. You need ozone, you need high dose vitamin C, you need supplements, and you sure as heck better change your diet. You better get right with Jesus and change what you're eating. Because if you don't, good luck. Good luck with your prosthetic. This is who I am as a sister.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So,
love it. Yeah.
um, I think it was like such a wake up call for him. It's, in I think in May or June, it'll be 2 years since this happened. And he is a completely different person. But when he originally went, they put a PICC line in his arm, two broad spectrum antibiotics, like gnarly antibiotics. And the infectious disease doctor told him, "You're probably going to be on these for a minimum of 6 months." He obviously was bummed about that. And I was like, "Look, you don't have a lot of choices." He's like, "What
Lose
would
the
you do?"
foot.
I'm like, "I'd take the antibiotics."
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
would also do everything I could to help my body heal. So he went carnivore. Um, this is a guy that knows how to be disciplined when he wants to. He's done some competitions and used to be super built, and he knows.
Mm.
Um, so he started changing everything. Was getting IV therapy. Came down. We did some, several days of just giving him everything we could. We used multi-dose. I have a Herman, and so we did multi-dose ozone and just a whole bunch of different things. He was on those IV antibiotics for 6 weeks instead of 6 months.
Wow. And
And
then how was the call made to that so his infectious disease doc
she
said you
she made
can.
the determination that he could stop. Um, and that his podiatrist was shocked. She was shocked. She's like, I can't believe this. This is wild. Like, I can't, nobody could believe that he did as well as he did, but he wasn't just relying on the antibiotics. And I've seen that kind of stuff over and over. Um, and he was on insulin while this was going on. I mean, now he's off medication, he's got stable blood sugar, he's just started lifting weights recently. He's doing awesome and he feels good. Does he have some long-lasting issues from mistreating his body? Yeah, he does. Um, he's got some vision issues. His neuropathy is improving, but that's not something that changes overnight, right? Um, he certainly his quality of life is way better. Um, but it's also been a real long road. I mean, it's been a lot of work, for him to get where he is. But just
Yeah.
a cool story, and that, and again, this is not a one-off. A
Yeah.
really great example of what, and we see it all the time with people with cancer, right? How so many of these therapies work really synergistically together to help people thrive through really hard things in their life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. And that it's you like you said, you don't get to a point where you have the kind of neuropathy that you could step on a nail and not realize it overnight. And you're not going to get better overnight. But man, if you can do things that shade that cut down your recovery time from 6 months to 6 weeks, especially something that the longer you're on it, the longer your entire, you know, flora of your gut and your microbiome, everything is just destroyed from antibiotic. Like if you can shave off, 4.5 months of that to something like this, I mean, yeah, he's got a long road, and it's not an overnight thing, but how much time really was saved in the bigger picture of recovery as a result of shaving off 4.5 months of gnarly antibiotics that now the next stage is having to get the gut biome, the second brain back
Yeah,
back online and
fixed.
stuff. So um I think that's incredible. I mean, and it just seems like, it almost seems like one of those things that's like it's too good to be true, right? It's like I guess that's like it's like, why is this not way more prevalent? Why is it so hard for people to get their hands on the training and the education experience? Why are there so few experts out there like you? And we aim to change that. We're on a mission to change it. And so, give us a handful of years to check back in, everybody, in 5 years, and we'll see how challenging it is to find an expert clinic that's offering the stuff. And because we're on a mission to change this whole thing, because it's the evidence is there, the the research is there, the everything is there, it just all needs to come together. So we're putting it all together, and I'm excited to be doing that with you. This has been fun. This has been really exciting. There's gonna be many more of these kinds of conversations as we build the Avita IV Institute, and come online and things. And so, um, yeah, keep an eye. Where do people follow you, if for the here and now? How do they get onto your newsletter? How do they learn more about what you're doing? Get into your socials.
Yeah, really, my social media, I all I do is just try to give little snippets of education to help people feel better. My handle on Instagram is Kimberly Verbeke Wellness. Um, our website, you can access anything you need there. You can sign up for our newsletter. Um, yeah, I mean, we're always looking to see how we can improve the quality of people's life and help, you know, make that trajectory a little shorter and a little quicker with using therapies that are synergistic with other things or other medicines. Um, Life's short, and your quality of life is everything.
Yeah, yeah, quality over quantity, right? We don't want people changing their diapers. Well, this has been super fun. Sign up for the newsletter because that's where more information will be coming for those that are in the ecosystem already. And the first to know about it will get the first opportunities to join the early programs because they will be small in nature. They certainly will not be big cohorts. We're talking about 10, 12 people max per class, and invited to your concierge high end clinic in um, Bourne,
Bernie,
Texas. Bernie. See,
Bernie.
I was like, it's not boring, not boring, Bernie, Texas. Bernie. Can't wait to go visit Bernie. I'm excited
You
about
can
that.
call it Bourne, it's okay. Lots of
I will
people
see what
do.
happens when I get there. If it's boring, Bourne, or Bernie, but it's spelled.
Yeah.
How do you spell it? It's because phonetically it's
B
Bourne, right?
yeah, it's Boerne. It's German.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
funny
Well,
funny little name, but great little town.
yeah. Well, it's great people like you that make it a great little town. So thanks again, Kimberly. This has been
Yeah.
awesome. And really looking forward to what we have put together and what's to come.
Me too. Thanks for having me on, Matt. I appreciate it.
Bye bye, everybody.